These are my top tips that I'm going to use when Horde Mode comes out, and if you do too, it'll help you push to be the best and strongest you can be with it. So let's start with tip number 1, adapt. Weapons will be randomized when you get them, so you're going to need to think on your feet about what weapons you could possibly get. Now, for example, you may not want to kill a pain elemental without a ballista, but think, what could you do? Well, Blood Punch is nice on them if you can meat hook and falter, but it is kind of risky. You're going to have no shield sometimes because of the chain gun. With these random weapons, you don't know when you're going to get it. You can't rely on one thing to carry you through. So if you do a bunch of SSG Ballista, you may have to work on other combos like a PB Rocket or PB Sticky. It just depends on what you get at the time. Now, Hugo's also mentioned instances like you might need to kill a Marauder with the combat shotgun and plasma. Well, did you know that one pip of Heat Blast will falter a Marauder? So you can do that to create an opening for a grenade. Or a combat shotgun base fire will also falter him, so you could do that and go in for a Blood Punch, maybe toss down a frag grenade, and just think about it. Because the second tip is think outside the box. As I just mentioned, your typical strategies may not work as you don't have those weapons, so you have to learn new ways to take down enemies and figure out new things that just may work. Maybe you're not familiar with the micro missiles as much, so you take down a fodder with a headshot since that works, and then you can get extra damage on other enemies. So for example, Doom Hunters seem to take a lot of damage from micro missiles on their sled, or recently I heard that I didn't know this, their shield too? So you might want to experiment with micro missiles on a Doom Hunter. There's a lot of things to think about. What about the chain gun? Did you know that the chain gun will falter the Knight class more easily? That's their weakness. You have the Hell Knight, the Dread Knight, and the Baron that all falter more easily to the chain gun, kind of like the classic games and their pain chance. What about that Archvile? Did you know that a Blood Punch will instantly break his shield? So go ahead, double Blood Punch the Archvile. You know you've always wanted to do it, because it's fun, right? So imagine you do have your single shotgun there, and you do that, maybe you do the full auto, because the full auto looks like it's getting a really good buff. That's another thing do you think outside the box. Sticky bombs on the Marauder's feet is another. There's just so much that you can do that we don't do all the time. The next tip is focus. Now, we know this is Horde, it's going to be crazy. There's going to be a lot going on fighting for your attention. If you've played Ultra Nightmare, or if you haven't, get ready for this. Think of this. Horde Mode will likely be a decent length. As you progress through and the stakes rise, well, the pressure's going to go up too. Learning to act with a cool head does go a long way. I'll talk about that here in just a minute, so stick around for that. Actually, in one of my other videos called How Not to Die in Doom Eternal, I addressed that you don't need to play tilted. That's going to screw up your focus. You're not going to be able to concentrate on the enemies and think normally if you're so mad at yourself for dying or losing a life or whatever it might be. That's going to screw up your thoughts. You're going to start messing up, and you're not going to think about what you need to be thinking about. Seriously, I know some people say that they play better tilted, but for the most of us, just watch what you do and be very careful. The next tip, endurance. Oh boy, be ready. Get yourself ready for a long ride. Yes, there are the 3 stages, but Horde Mode's going to be a while, and it's going to be a lot of pushing. There's going to be pacing, sure. You're going to have the breaks in the middle, like with the Traversal rounds. We'll talk about those too. You'll have to be on your toes for the Blitz rounds, planning and strategizing, but the whole point is you're going to need the mental willpower to get through this. You're also going to need the physical power to do it as well, because your fingers are going to be moving a lot, whether you're on keyboard, mouse, controller, or hybrid, which is like mouse and controller, which is really cool, by the way. So be ready to train yourself to last a while. You will be able to save after each stage, which is a huge help. Thank you so much, Id. Hugo knows that the dads here, we sometimes need a break. We sometimes might need to save in between the levels. Not mid-level, but between. Kind of like Ultra Nightmare, I guess. I want to echo something about the adaptation that we talked about earlier that ties into everything we've already mentioned, is don't save a failing plan. I touched on that on the How Not to Die video, so if you've not seen it, that'll go into more detail there. But everything that we've talked about comes together and forms the next point, which is memorization. Yes, memorize the waves, just like in the main game. Know when the spawns are. Be like, all right, this Mancubus spawns over here. This Dread Knight comes in whenever you get the Mancubus down to half health. there are going to be cacodemons that are infinitely respawning until I take down this enemy, Trigger Enemy, another video I have. So actually do watch that Trigger Enemy video if you haven't already. It'll explain a concept that will be life-changing for Horde mode. No joke. So in this case, where the bounty demons are going to be, those big guys that you need to kill quickly for most of the bonuses, how to set up your onslaught pickups from the end of those rounds, and thinking about when to use those power-ups. There's going to be a lot of thought that goes into this. It's not just going to be the run and gun, push W or E in my case, I'm ESDF, and then mouse 1. Well, actually, in my case, it's mouse 3. Just kidding. I'm not that crazy. I shoot with mouse 1, right? Of course I do. Anyways, you're going to want to think about how you're going to memorize where everything comes in so it doesn't catch you by surprise, and you can figure out and execute with a plan everything that comes your way. Another tip, this was actually suggested by Josh on the stream, and it is so good. He is right. Classic mode. You're going to want to be practicing those because in Horde, you're going to be starting with, well, basically next to nothing. Classic mode is a great way to emulate this, while you're still actually playing a master level difficulty. Now, of course, classic mode is different because you know where everything is, you get it in a specific order, everything's fine that way unless you want to tweak it up yourself. That's cool too. If you're on PC, you need to grab Convaz's Tag 1 Classic Mode mod because he actually made his own Classic Mode in each of the 3 tag levels that you can start from scratch. So it rocks, man. There's just so many things to think about with Classic Mode that will help you with Horde. The next tip is about your bonuses. Now, they're going to be bonuses for not using extra lives, and you're going to get rewarded with them, of course, and also a bonus for not using the BFG. So be sure. Please listen to me here. This is going to be huge for a lot of people that use if you use the BFG, you need to listen to this. Even if you don't, you do too. You need to brush up on your general combat and tackling enemies in various ways and not relying on your big, loving gun. When we do arenas, we have plans, like what arenas that we usually use our BFG in. For example, the last arena in Final Sin, a lot of us use the BFG because there's so many charges and it's a tough arena. You want to use it for there. But we can't fall back on that, or the extra lives either. We have to keep that fight moving. And, usually with an extra life, if we die, we're like, oh, we just keep the fight moving, no big deal, screen turns gray, blah, blah. Well, here, it's actually going to mess you up badly, and I think you actually have to restart if you lose the lives. So be sure you don't fall back on your BFG or extra lives. The next tip, speed, like Lightning McQueen or Ricky Bobby. Gotta go fast. If you're not first, you're last. Doom 2016's arcade mode. In this, you're going to have score bonuses and pickups that you'll need to be able to react quickly and grab them. And it's not just those. Remember those bounty demons that have a time limit to where they go from gold to silver to bronze? Not only is that less points, a silver onslaught is weaker than a gold. And if you can really get them good, you can get 2 gold onslaughts, and then your quad damage becomes an 8x, an oct damage, whatever you want to call it. Seriously, you can stack it up. Hugo said so in the stream. So we're not talking about just speed of movement and running around dashing like a madman, but speed in killing your enemies, knowing where they're going to be, having the reaction time to be able to take them down quickly, efficiently, rack up the points, and ultimately that's going to be what is going to carry you higher on the leaderboards if you're interested in that. And if you're not, it's still going to give you more quad damage. I mean, who doesn't want more quad damage, right? The next tip, commit. If you're going to be doing this, you have got to stay tough until the end. This is a huge mental game right here, okay? You got to hear this. Don't let a bad wave get you down. Make up for it. Do your best to push forward, but don't let falling behind screw your head up in your mental game. Because once you fall back mentally, you're going to screw yourself up over and over, and it just gets worse and worse unless you can pull yourself out of it. Say, all right, I literally cannot change what happened in this last wave. If I keep dwelling on it, it's only going to bring me down more. It will literally help nothing. I cannot change it unless it's a motivator for you to do better. Then treat it properly, but don't let it get you down. Because seriously, it's so easy to do that without even recognizing we're doing it. Like, I'm not kidding. Think about that. You've done it and not even recognized you did it. The next tip, traversal. Yes, work on your traversal, your meat hooking, your general movement, because those traversal rounds are not going to be about combat. You got to get those good rewards by knowing how the entire Doom game works. The movement, the combat, all of it comes together to give you the ultimate best rewards and success. So don't just be a one-trick pony or a one-trick slayer. Learn the traversal and the movements, learn how to meat hook, whether you're controller or keyboard or mouse or hybrid, doesn't matter, and then learn those puzzles, get those in your head whenever you do start playing it, and just figure out how to move around the meat hook and traverse those puzzles. Next up, we have to keep a cool and clear head. Seriously, have fun. Enjoy the process and the journey. The whole point of playing a game is to have fun. Doesn't matter if you're on I'm Too Young to Die or Nightmare, which there's no Ultra Nightmare for this. It's just going to be Nightmare. So don't lose your lives if you want to do UN. And I'm not saying to like not push goals and not work for things and drive hard, but don't burn yourself out. I also have a video on that too. And just really have fun with this. Push yourself, but enjoy the process, because you only get a first attempt at a new game one time. You only see it once, and then you begin to learn it and drive harder forward and figure it out from there. If you want to learn more combat tips, check out the video here, How Not to Die in Doom Eternal, because there's a lot of really good stuff there. Subscribe to the channel if you like combat news and analysis. My name's Allstin. Thank you so much for watching.